This is King Henry VIII, and this is his signature, which looks like he did something like this to make it. Henry was a thick boy, and this is an adorable painting of his son, who was also a thick boy. So, how about Henry the... Wait. No? How about Henry who ate? See? He's getting it. When Henry ascended the throne in 1509 at age 17, the whole of Europe was fangirling for him. He was called the most handsome king in Christendom. The Venetian ambassador to England at the time described him as extremely handsome. Nature couldn't have done more for him. Some Renaissance Venetian glaze for you right there. But really, Henry had been dealt a pretty good hand. He was over 6 feet tall, broad-shouldered, and in his younger years quite athletic. That would make for a solid dating app profile even today. He was an avid hunter, pretty good at the medieval version of tennis, and he was among the best jousters of his time. And it was at jousting in 1536 where he was accidentally crushed under his horse and left with lasting injuries. The resulting inactivity and gluttonous eating led to a lot of weight gain over time. And really, you can't blame him for it. If I were a king and people were throwing delicious food at me all the time, I would have done the same. Or probably worse. You can easily trace his increasing girth by looking at his armor over the years. Which brings us right to the topic of today's video, his Royal Thickness's amazing armor. I mean, look at it. This is the kind of armor that I look at and it's just... But let's start at the beginning. Whoops, a bit too far. In 1511, Henry established the Royal Armory in Greenwich to avoid the difficulties of importing fine armor from continental Europe. He employed mainly German master armorers, along with some from Italy and Flanders, which makes my German heart so very proud, because this institution produced some of the finest and most distinctive plate armor in the 16th and early 17th century, establishing a uniquely English style of armor, known today as Greenwich armor. And man, are they beautiful. So, among his numerous soft spots, Henry clearly also had one for finely made plate armor. If I could travel back in time, I'm sure he and I would have been good friends. Before he tried me as a witch for showing him my electric toothbrush and toilet paper. And here's something that blows my mind every time I hear about it. This is Henry's foot combat armor from 1520, which by the way is one of my absolute favorites, and I always start to hear boss music when looking at it. This armor completely encloses the body front and back without any gaps. The joints of it are so cleverly designed that it inspired early designs for the NASA spacesuit to protect the squishy human body not from a poleaxe or sword, but from the cold and everlasting embrace of outer space. On seeing Henry's armor, a NASA engineer once said that he wished they had seen it earlier in the development program for the spacesuit because it would have saved him a lot of time and money. And also, on this armor of his and many others, there is something that is very hard to miss. Something that resembles the height of fashion back in Henry's days. The codpiece. Although his ones are definitely massive. I mean, that must be a whole lot of Henry in there. Or well, it really makes me wonder, do you think he is compensating for something? But the ladies actually loved his extravagant codpieces back then, and he made sure that they were always shown in full detail on portraits of him. But with all he liked to display, he did have significant problems producing offspring. So you could say that his codpieces protected him very well, in more than one way. He was also a fan of another piece of fashion that was popular at the time, these armored shoes called sabatons. Their broad shape around the toes follows the kind of bare paw shoe that we can see in a lot of contemporary portraits, and also in Henry VIII. And come on, they look so comfortable. They pretty much resemble the Crocs of the Renaissance period. But let's look at another special armor of his. Special. But let's look at another special armor of his. This is probably one of the last armor sets made for him from 1544 because he died just 3 years later. So he probably reached his peak girth of about 51 inches or 130 centimeters by that point, which is very impressive. And you can really see how the armor resembles that. The whole thing is just beautiful all around and honestly pretty imposing and intimidating in a way. Like, I wouldn't want to fight this guy. I would probably try to Dark Souls dodge roll him all the time. But really, this armor is a true testament to how incredibly skilled his armorers were. They also came up with some pretty unique ideas. This suit of armor was made for Henry around 1540, and the backplate is actually adjustable. There are 2 sets of hasps at the waist and 2 5cm plates added on either side, so you can easily adjust for an increasing belly, or make space for some royal snacks. It also means that the Game of Thrones breastplate stretcher was actually a real thing. And I'm pretty sure the expanding armor came in handy when he went from Henry VIII to Henry XL and beyond. This armor comes in at about 39 kilos or 86 pounds in total. When you think about the fact that he threw himself onto a horse with his entire weight and the weight of his armor, I just feel sorry for the poor animal. The horse probably looked more like a camel after he got off. But anyway, Henry's story and the ones surrounding him have always been tragic to me, especially when you consider the fates of 2 of his wives, and some of his friends, and some advisors. And also that he got increasingly ruthless and vindictive the older he got. But his armor is cool. Well anyway, if you want to see how I calculated the temperature of heaven and hell according to the Bible, then watch this other video of mine. Thanks for watching as always, hit like if you like, hit that bell or go to hell, and bye!